Lifeboat Live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey, good Tuesday evening, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. We're going to try this again. Last night, if you were here, we were doing a show on communication, and oddly enough, the communication went out on us. I have it on pretty good authority. I know a guy that is an authority on space weather, and he tells me that some funky stuff was happening on the backside of the sun yesterday that caused an awful lot of problems, and it seems to have plagued the big red button pretty much all the way across the spectrum. There was a lot of people that were all sort of crying out the same, anybody that did anything live anyway. They all ran into the same problem. So we're hoping that tonight we're going to get through this thing. We hate canceling, that in the 8 months we've been doing this, there's only been a couple of times where technical difficulties got the better of us, and we actually had to shut down. But last night was definitely one of them. If you weren't here, we shut down once, we came back up, and then it was just still buffering something fierce. So, and we're a pinch late tonight because we were making sure that our bit rates and all of those things that I can't understand are up to snuff. So hopefully we're going to be in good shape. We're going to find out. So if you were here last night, some of the stuff that I'm going to go over right here in the beginning might be, the same thing, but I think it's important for those that didn't see it. And since it's not up there, I think it's probably important that we go back over stuff. But before we do, I got an announcement that I want to make. Tomorrow night will be the Wednesdays with Tommy and Niall. This is going to be a recurring thing that we do. And it's funny, people, because when Niall and I did the first time I interviewed Niall, we got a really great response to it. And then we did the second show where it was just Niall and I talking, and the response to that has been a really, really big deal. The response was huge. And I think what it comes down to, oddly enough, is it's fun to see two people communicate who may not agree on everything, but just simply communicate. There's no, even if it's impassioned, there's none of the normal vitriol that you see. And I just saw a great comment that said, sometimes I need to remind myself that there's a difference between hearing and listening. And one of the great takeaways, I think, for communication in general is that as a world, as a society, regardless of where you live on this globe today, we've gotten really, really bad at listening. People will hear you out, but to actually listen to what you say and take it in and actually spend a little bit of time, dedicating to whatever it is that you're talking about, that's a rare thing these days. And I think it's one of the reasons that the lifeboat seems to have picked up here in the last month or so. I think the level of communication between all of us has really gotten better, and I don't mean those of us in front of the microphone. I mean that the boat in general. Today I was off running errands. I had to run over and see my nephew at place that he works. I was giving him a hand. They're shutting down their business and moving it to another state. And I drove over there to give him a little bit of assistance. And I saw a bumper sticker on a car, and it said, "No family is functional." Right? You know how you hear the term, so-and-so came from a dysfunctional family, or people say, "I came from a dysfunctional family." So I saw a bumper sticker that said, "No family is functional." And when people start talking about dysfunctional families, sometimes it's really obvious stuff. Someone will say something like, "Well, my mom was on heroin and my dad was in prison." That jumps off the page as dysfunctional. But a lot of times, it's families where the family unit itself is still intact, but they just say that it's a dysfunctional family. And when you break that down, it almost always comes back to a lack of communication. That really is the driving force in dysfunction across the board. And I almost wanted to roll down my window and yell to the person, "You might want to try the lifeboat." Because as far as functional families go, I think this is a pretty good one. I really do. We are a very large group of people who have diverse opinions on everything. The only thing I think that we all agree on is that it absolutely is better to live this life without needing a chemical every single day of your life to feel some kind of normalcy. It's the one thing we all seem to agree on. Other than that, we may have different religions, different political leanings, different philosophies, but that one common thread that puts all of us in the same boat, I really think is the driving force. And I really do believe we are a functional family as far as that goes. The level of communication here is awesome. My hope, and I think Tommy's too, is that we will tackle the subject of sobriety through a lens of experience which people may relate to. I love it. That's Wednesdays with Niall and Tommy in a nutshell, right there. Beautifully articulated. I think that's exactly what we're shooting for, and I think we'll achieve that. I really do. Yesterday, right around the time that we went haywire for, I don't remember whether it was the first or the second time, there was a comment that was left from someone that said, in terms of communication, I'm just not one of those people that really likes to share. And that's right around the time that that we lost it. And I wanted to come back to this because I think it's really one of the most important things that it comes up constantly, and it's something that I think needs to be addressed. One of the reasons we're doing this, people, one of the reasons for the lifeboat is to make that an easier process. If you've ever been to a 12-step group, or if you've been to a recovery group of any kind, where there's a group of recovering addicts that sit in a room and they talk about what's going on in their life and they share with one another, and very oftentimes people will weigh in and tell them what they think about whatever. Someone will come in and say, "Boy, I felt like using last night, and here's why," and they go through that. Or, "I really am having a tough day today, and here's why." And people chime in and tell them their opinion on the subject matter. And it's one of those things that has been proven, as we've said so many times on here. It's the gold standard for people learning how to cope, because knowing that you're in a safe environment with people that understand exactly what you're going through makes it far easier for individuals to talk about the fact that they're struggling. Very oftentimes, in a room full of strangers, it's a tough thing to get up and share what's going on in your life. So when Mark and I were getting this thing put together, one of the things that we were really hoping for was that the lifeboat would alleviate a lot of that discomfort. It would alleviate that feeling of a room full of 60 eyes of people that you've never seen before, who are looking at you and judging what it is that you're saying, even if they have the biggest hearts in the world. That's the feeling that most people get when they stand up and lead off with, "Hi, I'm Tommy and I'm a heroin addict." You can watch it. Anytime someone has to get up and talk, whether there's 6 people in the room or whether there's 6,000 people in the room, you hear their voice crack a little bit, and you can see their hands start to do a little bit of the shake. People, the number one fear in the world is public speaking. I know that that's a bizarre thing to say, but it is the truth. The number one fear in the world is public speaking, followed in second place by death. And, we've dropped the joke on here 100 times, meaning most people would rather be at a funeral. They'd rather be in the box than having to give the eulogy. But there really is an inherent fear of public speaking that most people have. And because of that, very oftentimes people don't feel comfortable enough to get up and share. And that's a real issue for people in recovery. And we, thought and talked about it at length. We thought that doing this in a virtual setting, where when you're sharing, there aren't all of those eyes looking at you. There's no group of people staring at you while you get up and sort of rating you on your ability to communicate, or rating you on your prowess as a public speaker. That's the reason that so many people just don't feel like they want to get up and share. And I really want everybody to try and get comfortable texting what's going on in your life. Because for most, I think it is a far safer way, but it does the exact same thing. It really does. It gives you an opportunity to hear other people that have been in the same boat or in the same shoes, so to speak, to weigh in on what it is you're going through. And people, I don't know what it is, it's human nature or whatever, but when you feel like you're not the only person in the world that feels a specific way, you go from feeling like some kind of freak of nature to feeling, air quotes, normal. And if you've spent a decent chunk of your life addicted to chemicals, feeling normal is a beautiful thing. The ability to talk about what's going on in your life and share the struggles and the trials, that's going to help you. Just read how oftentimes someone has come into the lifeboat and said, "Here's what's going on in my life. I'm struggling. My child's using, or I'm in the middle of a divorce, or someone just passed away." So oftentimes, within a couple of minutes of posting that, you'll get that comment that says, "You know what? I already feel better just having come here and brought it up." Well, it's really important, people, that you do just that. As I was talking about yesterday, the goal of the channel, we're not a sobriety channel per se, but obviously what we talk about the most is sobriety, but it really is more about living your best life, right? That's really what the goal is across the board. The goal is to live your best life. And in order to do that, you're going to have to overcome trials. You're going to have to overcome strife. You're going to have to overcome all of the challenges that sobriety brings your way, especially when you're new in the game. When you first get sober, you're learning to cope with things that in the past, you would just drug the problem away. If your previous substance of choice was alcohol, then it becomes one of those things about, grabbing the bottle or grabbing the straw or the needle or all of that. But that's how most of us coped with the things that were the struggles that we had for such a long period of time, that when you first get sober, learning to get away from that is the biggest struggle in the trip to the base camp. Because once you get chemical free, we've talked about this so many times, but once you get chemical free, that's when this whole process starts. That's when you can start trying to live your best life. Up until that point, it's just about removing the chemicals from your situation, because you're never going to make the good decisions. You're never going to do all of the things that you want to do if you're using. I think we can all agree on that. So what we do at the lifeboat, and I'm not just myself and Mark, but every single person here, the goal is that we come together and we talk about things that are affecting all of us. And in doing so, we provide a set of tools for addicts to fall back on when they start to struggle. But with very few exceptions, and we touched on this yesterday, the obviously you can do some deep breathing exercises. We've done shows on all of the different things that you can do to change your physiology in the hopes of changing your psychology, right? Or changing how it is you feel. There's deep breathing exercises. There are people that do yoga. There are people who exercise strong. They go out and they get a good burn going. And there are people that eat stuff so hot that, it feels like it's got to take the skin off the roof of your mouth. I've been there and done that one too. But there are all of these different things that people can do. But for the most part, most of the tools that we talk about fall back on communication. And getting by that, well, I'm just one of those guys that doesn't share, or I'm just one of those gals that doesn't share. Learn to. You got to learn to. You really do, people. It's an integral part of sobriety. And I know there's going to be one or two people that are going to shoot me an email tonight, and they're going to say to me, I know a guy that doesn't go to any meetings. I know a guy that doesn't do any of those things, and he doesn't share with anyone, and he's managed to get sober. God bless him. I'm rooting for him. I want him to go the rest of his life without having to fall back on chemicals. And we have said this many times on the show, and we will continue to say it because it's one of those things that is, it should be almost obvious, but it's worth repeating. If there are 5 million sober people in a room, there are about 4.5 million ways that they got sober. Even if everybody in the room is doing the 12 steps, it's still going to be a different process for every single person. There is no way that you can come up with any kind of a cookie cutter system that's one size fits all. So what we do is we play the numbers, right? You have to play the numbers. And so what we're doing basically is giving you what we have found works well for the largest number of people. And although there may be intricacies and small little variations, communication is always going to be the backbone of all of that. Having somebody that you can get a hold of when you feel yourself slipping, having somebody who can be a cheerleader for you when you're not slipping. When things are going good and you're gaining momentum, it does amazing things to have somebody say, you know what, man, I'm proud of you. I know how hard this is, and I'm proud of you. The reason that groups like this are so popular, and the reason that groups like this have such a strong effect, on people who are trying to get sober, is because of that unity. It's because if you go outside the group and you say, you know what, hey, I'm 2 months sober, they look at you and they go, good, you should be. The real world, air quotes, normal world, they don't have an appreciation for the fact that what we do isn't easy. Getting off a substance once it owns you is a lifetime pursuit. It's not easy. And there are going to be days that absolutely challenge you. I mean, to your very core, it is going to run you through the ringer if you are going to be able to stay sober. Your best bet for that is to have a core group of people, a support family that you assemble, so that when I was supposed to not say peanut butter, when the pudding hits the fan, you've got somebody that you can reach out to. And in doing so, you're going to reach out to somebody who understands what it is you're going through. They've been there, they've done that. And that's the goal. That is when the lifeboat's clicking, that's why. And I think the reason that people are talking about the success of the boat recently is because in the very beginning, people reached out to myself and they reached out to Mark. And if they were in a bad place, we would get a text or we would get an email that, for lack of a better way to put it, we would talk them off the ledge. These people were ready to go grab a six-pack or ready to call the dope man or whatever their particular affliction was. They were at that point. They were ready to make the bad decision. And they would reach out to one of the two hosts and we would talk them off of the ledge. These days, that's happening every day. But people are reaching out to other people on the boat. And that's the dream, people. When that you're not, when you're not relying on, two people who may have a couple of thousand people that might shoot them an email at any given time. I think I held up the phone once to give you guys an idea of what a month sometimes looks like. But there were, I think the one that stuck out, I think, was 1,300 emails in a month. That's a lot of emails, right? And while I don't ever want to blow off anybody, and I really make a very serious, concentrated effort to make sure, especially if somebody is in danger of slipping, that I try to get a hold of them and get back to them as fast as possible. The best case scenario, people, is that you got 5 or 6 of those people, right? And if you literally don't have as enough, if you don't have 5 or 6 people, you better have 1 or 2. And as Mark was saying, you guys may remember us shutting down a show because we needed to talk somebody, down off the ledge. But recently, the level of communication among all of the people here on deck has reached a point where, now I'll get a text message or an email that'll say, so-and-so is really going through it, and you might want to reach out to them. On the bright side, I believe they just sent a message to Niall, or they just sent a message to whoever, right? Alan, whoever. And this whole crew has begun to rally around one another. Again, we hoped it would happen like this. It's happening way better than we hoped for. Truthfully, it really is. But the lifeboat is becoming a very, very solid avenue for people who want to fill a toolbox full of the best ways that you can to stay sober.
We circle that wagon, man.
Yeah, circle the wagons. And the amazing thing, people, is that you are those tools. And I mean that with nothing but love when I say you are those tools. The people on this boat have become the arsenal that people need to get through those really bad days. And there are people who are really stepping up to the plate that are making themselves available to anybody in need, basically at any given time. And the best part of that, people, is that, not only does it give you multiple options, but we're growing. And as the boat continues to grow, to have people that the crew can rely on outside of the two of us is the best possible case scenario. I mean, it really is. And I'm not saying don't reach out to us. Please don't misunderstand anything I'm saying. To keep doing what you're doing. But the best case scenario is to have multiple people. And there are plenty of people you can reach out to on this boat who are going to do just as good a job, if not way better a job than Mark and I could ever do, trying to talk you down off the ledge. People, if you're one of those individuals that thinks, I couldn't help anybody if they were in that situation, you can't say the wrong thing. You can't. It's about caring. That's all it is. The communication doesn't have to be, you being Mr. 12-step, or you being the foremost authority on the 6 phases of relapse, or any of that garbage. Seriously, that's great stuff. And it gives us something to talk about while all of you guys network and talk to one another and learn who you can rely on and that type of thing. But really what it boils down to is, like Michael Carbone said earlier, it's about listening, not about hearing. It's about listening, and if you make yourself available to listen to people who are really in a bad place, that's all the communication necessary.
They just want to know that they're not alone,
Yeah, exactly. They want to know that they're not alone. They want to know that there's somebody out there that understands what they're going through and who cares. And it's amazing how when someone is really in a bad way, when you find yourself in on the staring into the abyss, so to speak, when you get to that place where you really feel like you're about to use, you more than anything else, you need somebody to listen, not somebody to talk. Honestly, and people, it's funny, but I've gotten on the phone with people who were right at that point, and they'll say, "You know what, Tommy, I'm thinking of using," and I'll say, "What's going on?" why don't you tell me what's happening? And they'll start the story. And then they'll say things like, right in the middle of the story. And, I know it isn't going to be worth it. If I go and I do this, it's not worth it. It's just that I'm thinking this. And this goes on for 15 or 20 minutes. And they're literally answering every one of the questions. Every once in a while, I'll throw in yep. Yeah, no, been there. You know what I mean? I know what you're going through. And then they get to the end and go, boy, thanks, Captain. You know what I mean? I really appreciate all the help. And 90% of the time, I didn't say a word. But knowing that someone's there that cares, knowing that someone is there that doesn't want you to make that mistake, someone that can be that ear when you find yourself in a position that your sobriety is threatened, it's all it takes, truthfully. Communication is one of those things that when you read books on, or you go and you listen to the air quotes gurus that talk to you about communication, you get all kinds of advice, things like, make sure you make eye contact, right? Make sure that you're staring directly at, look, man, just listen. All of that stuff, all of the, you can drop double negatives, and you can, and your grammar can be horrendous and your vocabulary can be small. Do you care? Because that's really what people want. That's really what people need. They need to know that there's somebody there that cares, and they need to know that there's somebody there that understands. What makes the lifeboat unique is that every single person here understands before they ever get 6 days or 6 hours or 6 minutes into being a crew member on the lifeboat, they get it. Because all of us had to endure what it feels like to have a monkey on your back, right? All of us know that feeling of not having the opportunity or not having the ability to say no to a substance that literally owns you. And you know something? That's not a term I'm just throwing out there, right? I was owned by my substance choice. Every decision I made, good, bad, ugly, whatever, every decision I made hinged on that substance. These days, that doesn't happen. And if you think, people, that if you don't really have a handle on how much Mark and I get out of coming here and doing what we do in front of the mic, if you think about it, people, what I'm telling you there is basically what we do every day, except you don't have to have anybody stare at you while you do it. How many times have you guys heard me come on here and say, you know what, well, I want to complain to you about something, right? Or let me tell you something that happened to me today. I come here and I unload whatever's happening. And if the real proof is in the pudding, because none of you are going, oh yeah, I know exactly how you feel. 90% of the time, I'm staring at this little circle right here, right? To make sure that I'm not, that I'm doing that whole eye contact thing, and I'm not doing the entire show over here, because that gets frustrating. And then Seventh Son will say over here, or something along those lines.
Or even our topics, guys. It's how we come up with them sometimes. Is what we're going through that day. And a lot of the time. And I know we don't usually verbalize that, but that's what it is,
And you know what? There's even been a few shows. I remember one in particular where I said, because and I've brought this up before on the channel, but every once in a while I will do a video, and I'll get a text message or I'll get an email from someone that says, were you doing that about me? Was that show about me? And I remember once very specifically coming on and saying, normally, truthfully, I'm not doing a show where I'm targeting anybody in the group. That doesn't happen. But there was one show in particular, and the guy that I was targeting was me. And coming here and going through and talking about, where my shortcomings are, or when I feel like, but Mark nailed it. I remember very distinctly one of the shows that we did. I think it was one of the better ones, honestly, but I went through the 5 stages of relapse, and people, I did that show. Make no mistake. I did that show because I basically wanted to figure out how deep down that those levels I was at. The reason that I went and I first looked it up and I first started, rehashing all of this stuff was because I wasn't making my bed. I wasn't watching the sunrise. I wasn't doing all of these different things that are the canary in the coal mine for me. I've said this so many times. There's a lot of things in my life that if I'm not doing, I'm probably in a bad place. And I wanted to just sort of re-educate myself on this because I was kind of concerned about the direction I was going in. And then I came on the show and I worked through my stuff, right? It's the same thing that every one of you needs to be doing. Come to the comment section and tell us what's going on in your life. This really, it's the opportunity for all of you to have a 12-step group style program without anybody beating the 12 steps down your throat, right? We're not going to force anybody into assignments or do any of the things that you very often hear. And I think Niall did a beautiful job on our last Wednesdays with Niall of articulating why for some people that's a struggle. But you get the benefits of the group therapy, and you get it without having to go, okay, I got this. I am, right? And stand up and give your name and have the whole group turn and stare at you. That's a difficult thing for a lot of people. And as Niall was saying, in the 30s, when they came up with this, it was cutting edge stuff. You realize that, and I've said this so many times, but we're standing on the backs of giants. The people that came up with the concept and realized that the only way you were going to get sober was to have another addict to have, lean on, and to have basically call you out, and for you to be responsible for someone else while they were responsible for you. We're standing on the backs of giants. But with all due respect to those giants who have now been in the ground for, close to 100 years or somewhere in there, technology's changed, the world's changed, a lot of things have changed. And right now you have the ability to come here and to do what they were doing then, without all of the drawbacks and without all of the, it's one thing to try and overcome a really vicious substance abuse problem and then overcome your fear of public speaking at the same time. Good call. Honestly, you may as well quit smoking, don't belch, stop cursing, right? You may as well really just keep stacking all of those difficult things on there and try them all at once, right? That's a tough thing.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go the group therapy route, you really do have to come to grips with, now I'm going to have to learn to get comfortable talking in a room full of people if I want to work through my problems. So I'm not picking on. Go ahead.
I would say this, guys, I fight that. It's one of my biggest battles is trying to get out in front of people. But that's why what me and Tommy are doing is so effective, because we're willing to let you guys see us go through those. And it makes it a lot more powerful, like when Tommy comes here and basically he's walking himself through where he's at on his, possible relapse, or where he already started in his brain, and it helped him figure it out. But at the same time, it was so real that it comes across in a way that there's no way you could ever get to that level unless it was that real. And I think a lot of you guys see that, and that's why we love the interviews, guys. I mean, honestly, it really is, because you guys get to see not just what me and Tommy are saying, but you're seeing that other people are going through the same stuff. And guess what? Yeah, they might not be as comfortable in front of the camera or whatever, but they think this is important enough that they're out here trying to help others by sharing what they went through. And that's something that should not be just brushed over or put aside, because it's a tough thing to get over.
Amen. Yeah, guys and girls that are jumping out of their comfort zones to come on here and do this. By the way, thank you, Seventh Son. I really appreciate you. And he says, always do your best. What you plant now, you will harvest later. And he also had a question that I absolutely have to answer. My friend Jeffrey was talking about the Edison quote of he figured out 9,999 ways to not invent a light bulb. And that is how he invented the first bulb. And Seventh Son said, how is it? Because whether or not you know this, every single day at noon, right, or 1 or something like that at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, when they do the little tour by the Edison display, they light that light bulb. Yeah, that first one. It continues to light every single day. And Seventh Son said, how is it that they can't make the, a light bulb today? People, when you buy a light bulb, read the box and it will tell you how long that light bulb is going to work before it burns out. The guys who are figuring out how to make a light bulb that will cook in 400 hours are getting paid the big bucks.
Oh yeah.
Because we buy 400-hour light bulbs, or we buy 600-hour light bulbs. Those bad boys are engineered
It's repeat business.
to die. That's right. Because if they did not do that, there's a great rumor, and it's one of those rumors no one knows if it's true, but it's one of the things that they teach you in business school, or if you take any kind of business classes. There is a rumor that has been persistent for a very, very long time, decade upon decade, that there was a guy that came up with a cream that men would put on their face and never have to shave again. And it was a very, very effective depilator, or whatever they call that makes the hair stop growing. And if this rumor is true, the people at Gillette said, "How much do you want for that?" And they bought that patent and then buried it as deep as they could in a backyard with a safe on top of it, because obviously people, we live in a, and it's not even a bad segue, by the way. We live in a disposable society, right? And if you don't think this trickles down to absolutely every single part of our lives, it does. It does. We have become a society where when you buy something, there is obsolescence already built into it, right? They anticipate you throwing it out and getting a new one. That permeates every part of our society, down to the point where if you got a little bit of a defect as a human being, let's say that defect is you have a very difficult time saying no to alcohol, or you have a very difficult time saying no to drugs, society treats you like a 400-hour light bulb that's cooked. For real. There was a day and age in this world where things were built with pride, and there was no such thing as disposable. There was no such thing as, things that you just threw out when you're done with it. And I think at that time, people were treated differently too. But we have reached a point in our society where people are disposable. People are throwaways. Why do you think it is that with the number of people dying every single day in this country because of drug overdoses, that we're not freaking out? Because those are defects. Those are people that are defective. In the eyes of society, those are people that we can afford to lose.
Yeah, just look at your cars. They're built to last a certain amount, and if you apply that to what Tommy just said, and instead of trying to fix an addiction, they're just throwing it away, so they ain't got to look at it no more. And that's kind of what happens. And it's up to us to fight back against that, and that's exactly what we're doing. All of us, you guys included. You guys are here. It's part of the fight. It really is. And I know I'm putting it out there in kind of like a confrontational way, but let's just be honest. At some point, it has to be. You have to be able to stand up to those people that are going to tell you, no, you can't do this. Bull crap. I'm going to keep moving, people. They're not going to, I'm not going back to what I was before. No way. And then you have to, and even if you don't actually believe that in your own mind yet, you will. So keep telling yourself that. Because sometimes it takes multiple times of going over that stuff. And remember what I said about, when you remember something, if you verbally say it or see it 14 times, your brain now remembers it. That's a magic number. You guys can look that up. Now, I don't know how they came to that number. I'm sure there were studies done and all that kind of stuff. But don't be afraid. And that's why speaking in public is so effective, because you're verbalizing it, you're visualizing it, and you're seeing them do it. So there's three things right there you're looking at that you don't typically have. And I think it's just what makes it so powerful. And I think what's going on here, we've taken something that turned into a negative, such as social media, and we're making it a positive thing. And we are. So
I'll be damned. You know what? Every once in a while, a light bulb goes off. You know what I mean? I just had one, but I gotta make. Yeah, there's a comment here that's a good one. And people, this is, Niall, leave it to Niall, because this is going to basically now come full circle, people. Niall said, and if you are comfortable with public speaking, well, then the responsibility is to own it. It's a gift and a means of explanation and exploration. Tommy and Mark give it to us. You know something? This is exactly, people, honestly, and not me and Mark, but this is exactly what I have been talking about. And this is the purpose of the communication show. And this is really the point, the takeaway from this is this. There are a group of people, Niall's a great example. There are a group of people who bring a specific skill set. And realizing that they have that skill set, Niall is a perfect example of someone that said, I'm going to step up to the plate. And it's not just the Wednesdays with Niall and Tommy, which, by the way, is my favorite day of the week for the boat. Anyway, I absolutely love it. I really do. But way more important than that, when he's not sitting in front of the camera, he's one of those people that I was talking about earlier who uses those communication skills, which isn't just the ability to talk people, it's the ability to listen. But Niall has stepped up to the plate and become such an integral part of the lifeboat team and what it means to have people like that. And he's one of many people that are stepping up to the plate. Rip to come back here and go through the 2 interviews that he's done with us. But every time someone from the boat steps a little outside that comfort zone and comes on and does an interview or does, talks to people in the chats or does any of those things, then this group becomes a tighter and more cohesive unit. And that really is the dream of the boat. And that is why we've seen sort of a renaissance on the lifeboat. That's why we're sort of having the type of success that we're having. By the way, I want to apologize to everybody. Last night was completely out of our control. It was. There was nothing that we could do about last night. And, the proof in that is some really big channels with a whole lot of people were having some problems as well. But I do realize that there's a lot of people that have come to rely on an hour a day spent thinking and talking about sobriety as a very important part of this whole process. And we're going to do our best to be here, 365 nights a year. I felt, honestly, last night when we turned it off, both of us were just went, man, this sucks. Because I know that there are people, I read a comment from someone that said, man, I really needed this group tonight. And we know that, we really do. The other thing that I told you, I saw a light bulb go off. You guys have names, right, that don't always match your names. So I don't always know who sometimes I'm talking to. And people, if by some chance you've never reached out and dropped an email to me and said, if you see the magic thumper, right? Well, that's me. And my name is, Lyle or whatever. Those are good things, because every once in a while I will see a post about something and not put the 2 things together. If you're new to the boat, please drop me an email, reach out, or drop one to Mark or both, and tell us who you are and a little bit about you, so that we could try to serve you better. Because honestly, the more we know about the people on the boat, the better off we're going to be. But right in the middle of this, I just figured one of those out. So. And know who you are, by the way. So yeah, I'm glad.
And I think we both get not wanting to put your real name out there on the internet. We get that.
Sure.
So with that being said, know that me and Tommy will not say your name unless you're doing it, unless you're saying it. Okay.
Yeah.
A good example is Miss Hermit. Her name's Holly. She puts it all over the chat room, right? So we know that's who she is, and because she said it. I mean, it's not something that she's trying to. But I do understand wanting to have that, and that ability to not, I guess the chance of getting attacked, I guess, is what really their mind goes to when they put their name out there, or
some level of privacy.
Yeah, a little bit of privacy, and sometimes even a little bit of embarrassment. I think kind of creeps in there once in a while. Not always, but sometimes. But yeah.
Well, our subject matter too. You know what I mean? We've talked about this so many times, but the subject matter that we discuss here, there are individuals that, they don't want people from work coming on here and going, good Lord, Tommy's a heroin addict. Like, I completely understand that. And if you just got to the boat, I wasn't born Tommy Scoville. So trust me when I tell you, I get that. Of course, in my particular case, be careful what you put down there, because you might just end up with it for the rest of your life. I'm cool with Tommy, but people, I really want to spend a little bit of time just saying thank you. About 3 or 4 days ago, I got a direct message from somebody that we were talking about things, and I got sort of an apology for something that didn't require an apology, and I said, "Man, we're far better than that. You know what I mean? We're friends. That's not the kind of thing that ever was going to make me upset with you or anything like that." But and I said to that individual, you know what? I realize I don't say it enough, but for those of you who are coming here every single day and being a part of this crew, I hope you realize just how much we care about you people. And the proof is that we do come here every single day. Trust me, if we didn't feel about you the way that we do, I promise you, we wouldn't be here 7 days a week. But I know that in spite of that, it's not something that I say often enough. But you guys mean the world to me. You really do. It's my therapy. It's
Tommy's speaking for me here too, by the way. So
yeah, no question.
I mean,
it's definitely the both of us. I was dumb enough to put my phone number in the chat, said Seven Son. Tell you what, there was an incident where my phone number once got put on Instagram back in the day, and I had about 8,000 Instagram followers. What I did was I posted something that was like a screenshot, and at the very top of it, my phone number was up there, and I was in a halfway house. So you were allowed to have a cell phone, but your cell phone couldn't ring during meetings or things of that nature. So I was in a meeting, and for about an hour and 20 minutes, my phone did not stop vibrating. Like it was on a desk going, so I put it on the floor, and you could hear it vibrating on the floor. And finally the person was like, "If you don't turn that thing down, I'm taking it away from you and you'll never see it again." I was like, "That's all right. Let's turn that off." But yeah, Seventh, if you want to put your number out there now, we promise that we won't call if you're just wanting to give people an opportunity to get a hold of you. Feel free.
Yeah, sure, go for that. Some of the most famous people in our world, guys, they, like Niall just said in the chat, they're under pseudonyms. Mark Twain. I mean, you can go straight to a lot of these authors. A lot of authors have a lot of they hide behind a name. I don't want to say they hide. They're using that name. And and everybody has their own, like Tommy said, they have their own reasons for that, and they're all legit. Every one of those is legit. If it makes you feel a certain way, do not do that. Don't go out there and put it on there. Yeah, Leisure. Yeah, exactly. Leisure.
Wait, your name isn't Leisure Beast? Man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Here I've been calling you Leisure all this time.
Yeah, we thought your mom and dad were really cool.
Yeah, really laid back. Right, Mr. and Mrs. Beast had a great sense of humor. Brandon, 84 days. 6 more days, he's going to hit 3 months. This was the guy that couldn't hit 1.
God,
congratulations, so awesome. Brandon. We're proud of you, bud. Keep working out. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay the course. And you better be here tomorrow night, because tomorrow night is Wednesdays with Niall and Tommy. And I think that, honestly, people, it's such it's everything that we're talking about tonight without having to talk about anything that we're talking about tonight. It's just 2 guys communicating, rehashing and discussing the intricacies of sobriety. And it's one of those things that I get a tremendous amount from every time, Niall and I have a conversation, whether it's just the 2 of us there or whether it's the whole world watching. I, without fail, walk away from that feeling like I have a better handle on the whole sobriety thing. And that's the gift that keeps on giving. If you're trying to stay sober, anything that you can get like that is it's a gift. It really is.
Yeah, and I want to say this too, guys. That Wednesday night thing with Niall and stuff, it's not I know I put the thumbnail out there like they were battling each other, but I picked that Star Wars picture on purpose. Because if anybody knows anything about Star Wars, Anakin and Obi-Wan are brothers. And that's why I did that. And I was hoping somebody would pick up on it. I think Niall picked up on it a little bit. I think Tommy did too. But anybody that's not into Star Wars, I get you might not have caught that part of it. But I didn't, I know I put the word battle in there, but that was to get people in here, right?
Right.
And it wasn't clickbait because we did exactly what we said we were going to do. You do have to get creative sometimes just to try to get as many people in here. But I want to make that clear that they're not battling. They're not. It's not like that. I mean, it's just really not. So don't get confused like they're. And I don't think any of you guys do. But if anybody new is here and listening to what I'm saying here, it's not going to be somebody on there just butting heads. It's not what it's about. So I just want to clarify that. So yeah.
Although I will be willing to argue with him if he really has it coming. No, I'm kidding. But people, that is tomorrow night, and hopefully every Wednesday night we're going to try to do it four times a month, 52 times a year. And unless something gets in the way of that, I do really believe that that's one of those segments that the more you can hammer home the fact that communication, we will not always be on the same page. The beautiful thing about communication is even when two guys are completely 100% on the same page, listening to how they describe that page, you will get far different outlooks and far different things from both of those descriptions, if that makes sense. You can get two people that can tell you the exact same thing, and sometimes one of them will really resonate with you and the other one will just completely lose you or just won't have your attention or anything else. And let's be honest, we spend a pretty decent amount of time listening to myself or Mark. So when we can bring other people in here that really have an excellent sort of grasp of the subject matter, and I have no problem whatsoever. Niall has far better a grasp of the sobriety, especially the psychological aspects of it. I mean, hands down, has far better a grasp on it than I do.
I think he does a really good job of putting it into words that don't confuse people too. He's able to put a really strong topic and that can be like misunderstood in words that people understand what he's saying.
And I got to get this up here just because this is for posterity, because this will be added to the lifeboat record for all eternity. But Jeffrey Ganali says he's ready to battle again for the BJJ the title belt. Little Tommy. He never once owned that belt, people. Not only did it take a sneak attack as I was laying in bed the night before I left, but I didn't tap out. He broke my arm, but I didn't tap out. He just dislocated my elbow. It was my stubbornness. Still doesn't work very well either. Mr. T, good to see you, my friend.
Yep, DJ's.
He says I've been listening most of the time. I'm at work. I love you all. Yeah, but you work with tools. Please be careful, my friend. It's not blowtorch a hand or anything like that. But always a pleasure to see you here, Mr. T. DJ Daddio is one of my favorite people and another great example of communication. He's a guy that reaches out to me on a very regular basis, sends me emails, and he weighs in on the subject matter, and I learn an awful lot from him as well. I really do. Then that's the beauty of the boat. Every time one of you reaches out to us, every time one of you sends us an email or a direct message, people, the day that you stop learning should be the day that they shut the box. You know what I mean? This is, and we're in a subject matter here where, as I've said before, if there's a million people, there's a million paths to sobriety and to living your best life. And I, for one, would like to learn all 1 million of them. I'm going to take a little bit from every single one of those. And the toolbox that I use to stay sober just continues to get bigger each and every day. And it gets bigger because of all of the people on this boat. So just keep doing what you're doing because you guys are killing it.
And also,
we're going to be back. Oh, go ahead, please.
Let me say one more thing and we can cut it.
Yeah.
Don't ever think that you can't do it. You can't say stuff with what you mean, right? People get scared. That's all I'm saying. And don't think you're not smart enough to understand and help somebody else.
Amen.
Because you are, most certainly. And I would argue the fact that most of the time, those of us that are in this, even if we don't have that higher educated mindset, sometimes can help people better because you're down on their level and you're relating. And
no question.
So yeah,
no question. Every single person, and the best part of it, people, is this: it's not like walking into a meeting where there is a whole group of people that you don't know who are going to be staring at you, and you wonder if they're going to. Nobody on the lifeboat judges anybody for anything. We're the lifeboat. You know what I mean? I think that we've done a pretty decent job in proving that we're the least judgmental group of people on the planet. And when I saw a bumper sticker that said every family is dysfunctional, this one isn't. I'll tell you right now, this family right here isn't dysfunctional. We might all be addicts. We might have all had some really rough times, but this is the most functional family I've ever seen in my life, and I'm proud as hell to be a brother in it.
Oh yeah. Ditto, brother. Ditto.
So tomorrow night will be Wednesdays with Niall and Tommy. We will see you people there. Same bat time, same bat channel, different bat show. And between now and then, about 24 hours, 23 hours now, reach out and try to save somebody, people. It's what we do. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
And look who's here. Cat in the basket. Good night, everybody. We love you.